Gyro, when are you going to revisit Arc Witch builds for Path of Exile? Well, my friends, I am going to revisit my Arc Witch in 3.16. She's definitely not dead. She's coming back in full force. This is going to be an awesome league, and if you're interested in beginner-friendly league starter such as Arc Witch build that will be catered for 3.16, today is a preview video. It's not going to be a full-blown guide because the league is not started yet. But I'm going to tell you about my intentions, how I'm going to build it, what I'm planning to do. So, if you're interested, stick around, let's talk about it. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you are one of my supporters, one of my subscribers, and if you're just a friendly passerby, hello, I'm Gyro. I am a casual veteran of Path of Exile. I've played the game for many years, but I'm not a pro specialist who pushes high-end content and tries to pretend that my guides are all-encompassing. They are not. If this attitude is something up your alley, please hit the like, it takes only 1 second, and subscribe to the channel for more. Today we're talking about the very first build that I'd like to bring back, not from the dead, but from the previous leagues of Path of Exile into 3.16 Scourge. It's going to be Arc Witch Elementalist. Arc Witch Elementalist is tremendously popular among newbies of Path of Exile and pros alike. The build is very easy to put together. It's kind of easy to get started with and possibly harder to master. You know how they say about different builds, different games, different classes in MMORPGs that, you know, easy to kind of start playing with, easy to like, but harder to master. It's one of them. It's one of those builds that can take you quite far in the game, to the end game maps and through all the content in the game without investing too much, in all honesty, and yet still feeling quite powerful, if not overpowered. Maybe I will reserve on overpowered comment because it's probably not the most powerful build in my arsenal across different leagues that I tried, but it's definitely a very fun build that I'm going to be revisiting and bringing to you, my friends, in 3.16. Let's take a look at it. So what am I looking at here on the screen in case you are really unfamiliar? What you're looking at is all I can look at the moment, which is called Path of Building Community Fork. It's a free application, free tool that you can download from the web, and currently it's been updated by the enthusiasts, by the community, to incorporate the new Path of Building, Path of Exile passive skill tree. Passive skill tree changed quite a lot in this league, in case you have been living under the rock and have not heard of any particular announcements for this upcoming expansion, upcoming league. Well, no harm done, I'm here to tell you. One of the most prominent things that you will notice even as a beginner of the game, but perhaps who played the game before, are those kind of glowy central things. These are called masteries. So two prominent clusters of nodes, for example, life cluster of nodes, this one, you remember it from the previous leagues, perhaps it used to be a little more squarish, a little more rectangular. They now added masteries. So once you have invested enough points into this cluster, and once you have taken a major node, in this case Constitution, and it's a good old node that you may recognize, it gives you maximum life and increases maximum life. It's really good for any build pretty much, and for skinny witches, very much so. Well, they've also added these life masteries. In this case, it's a life mastery. So you click on it, and life mastery could be present in more than one location of a tree. So in this particular case, this is one of the most prominent clusters, but let's say we will take a look at the top part of this build, and it will be the lightning mastery, because Arc Witch, spoiler alert, is a lightning spell, so it's a lightning damage based build. So lightning mastery would have also a heap of these different positive things that you could pick every time you unlock each one of those clusters and each one of the masteries. So if life mastery is present in multiple locations on this passive skill tree, which it will be, you every time can choose, okay, in the order of priority. First I want to take this, then I want to take this, then I want to take this, then I want to take this. That is the concept. I absolutely love it. As a casual, it's very easy for me to explain and appreciate without even pushing the game too far. I think you're going to love it too. So in this particular case, that is probably the main thing to call out here as to what changed substantially in the passive skill tree. Beyond that, there is some reallocation of nodes, there is obviously rebalancing, as I mentioned, of numbers, but at the same time, nodes are actually in recognizable positions. Yes, they changed a little bit of the surroundings here of where witches start. We will get into that in a second. But at the same time, majority of the changes are in balancing and perhaps just making everything a bit more accessible and a bit better. As you can see, I mentioned Lightning Mastery nodes. I have taken at least 3 clusters that are Lightning Mastery. And I'm considering if I ever push this build beyond investment of 83 points that Path of Building currently tells you here at the very top, how many points I've played with so far, then I would go to this Lightning Mastery node as well, which I haven't taken just yet, but you know, this is not a full build, this is a preview, this is a teaser and a taster for you. Obviously start here in the center where the witches start, and we are obviously going to go with an Elementalist Ascendancy, so this is going to be a direct damage dealing entity, direct damage dealing character. It's not going to rely on totems, it's not going to rely on minions, it's going to do damage itself. The only damage we're going to be using is from the skill called Arc. Arc is a skill that you get at level 12. Level 12 during your leveling. What you do before 12 ultimately doesn't matter. You can level with Frozen Pulse, you can level with Spark, you can level with something absolutely basic there. At level 12, once you kill Merveil in her caverns, following just the questing through act number 1, absolutely noobish zones, just play with the game if you're a complete newbie, get used to it. Just follow the path that I'm following here, which will be following the left fork here. We will be increasing our spell damage and maximum mana. And where we can, we are going to, yes, boost the mana pool and cast speed. Cast speed, mana pool, spell damage. Priority number 4 for us becomes crit chance. We're going to also invest into critical chance, but it's not going to be a primary thing for us. Spell damage, cast speed are going to be 2 main things. At the same time, of course, we can't forget about the secondary stats, such as I already mentioned, life pool. You need to kill them before they kill you. End of the story. That is really how Arc Witch works. You shoot Arc, it forks between the enemies, shocks everyone, they're all like stunned and standing there and dead before they get to you. If they get to you, you're not a tank. This is not a tank build. That's what you have to understand. But we obviously will invest into some life pool, into some resistances, some other kind of stuff for sure. So we will go up here to Arcanist Dominion naturally. We will go up here to Heart and Soul to get a little bit more mana and maximum life. We will go here into increasing maximum mana, intelligence and energy shield. We will go here into increase of maximum mana by 30% and regeneration of mana per second. This is massive because we will be relying on mana naturally for defensive layers and for offensive capabilities as well. Absolutely no questions asked. Annihilation is a very, very powerful node. It speaks for itself. It is increasing critical chance for spells by a massive amount. Yes, we want to crit. We want to crit. Critical chance, a critical hit obviously hits the target for a lot more damage, and the more we crit, the better for us it is. So I am planning to take Annihilation, just probably not as the first few nodes spent. So I would go here, I would take this node, and then I probably would go left here in this direction. I am going to take this node Mind Over Matter because it is going to substantially reduce the amount of damage I am taking by offsetting 30% with my mana pool. This node Quick Recovery increases maximum life and boosts massively mana regeneration rate. Needless to say what for, we've just discussed it. I am planning to take this jewel socket. This is not going to be a heavy build on jewels, which is why it's also very, very noob friendly. We are not going to rely on any cluster jewels. I'm not planning to take cluster jewels in this build. I'm gonna try and not to make it super accessible for you and for myself. So it's only going to play with a couple of normal jewels. Yes, it will make it not as powerful as those end game grinding builds, but it's still gonna be powerful, trust me. And then we're going to move up in the tree. We're going to go this branch up. So what is happening here? This is also a questionable node. I'm gonna play with it and see how it pans out, but at the moment I'm planning to take it. It is Mental Rapidity, which is increasing cast speed by 10%, that's a lot, and increases mana regeneration rate. Needless to say, pretty good. This is our first Lightning Mastery node where we are increasing lightning damage by a massive amount and increasing cast speed. Needless to say, it's great. These skills increase maximum mana and increase spell damage by per 100 maximum mana up to 40%. That's also a massive potential, right? And Mystic Bulwark is questionable, but I actually think it's very, very good because it gives you extra defensive layer, giving you a chance, pretty good chance to block spell damage, yeah? and also increases mana regeneration per 1 chance to block spell damage. So if you happen to have gear that boosts spell damage, you can decide whether to take this node or not, but I recommend to take it. This is where we're going. We're going towards the Herald of Thunder and Breath of Lightning. We're going to this, for the lack of a better word, cluster of nodes with more Lightning Mastery. Why? Well, it speaks for itself. There's a massive amount of boost to your lightning damage, and everything that Arc Witch does will be about that lightning damage. So this is what we're taking without question. We will also aim to take static blows. We're gonna increase the duration of lightning elements. That's shock, and and also probably worth pointing out here in case you're new to Elementalist builds. I will talk to you about Ascendancy in a second, but I plan to take Golem Commander. Golem Commander increases the number of summoned golems and increases effects given by golems. If you've never run with a golem before, golem is this little buddy that, like fire golems, they boost your damage by 20%, and you will be running with 2 or 3 of them. So that would be great, right? Lightning Golem increases your cast speed, also great. And your Ascendancy, my friend, your Ascendancy is going to, first of all, it's going to give you also another 1 summoned golem, which is great. And once you take Elemancer, which you will take on the 3rd pass through the labyrinth, your golems become immune to elemental damage. They increase the buffs they give you, and they this Elemancer is increasing the number of summoned golems. But the most important part of the Liege of the Primordial node is the fact that if they are killed, golems, you don't need to resummon them. They'll be resummoned automatically. So that is going to make you really powerful as a witch. Speaking of Ascendancy, we already said that it's an Elementalist. We're going to take Shape of Storms so that your hits always shock enemies. That's incredible offensive and defensive layer in one. Your shocks always increase damage that enemies take by 15%. Oh my god, right? And you will have more effects of lightning elements that you inflict when your highest type of damage is lightning, which it will be. Finally, Bastion of Elements is a great node where you cannot take a reflected elemental damage, which otherwise would kill you in many circumstances. And you also have Primal Aegis when allocated. So Primal Aegis can take 75 elemental damage per allocated notable passive skill. What are notable? So it's kind of like a passive shield that you gain, right? And 75 elemental damage is negated per notable passive skill. Notable passive skills are these big ones. The easiest way to find how many notable passive skills you have in your passive skill tree is either to search here in Path of Building or in your Path of Exile, actual in the game, in the search bar above the passive skill tree. You search for notable and see the red circles. Everything, all of these are notables. So depending on how many you have unlocked, you do 75, 75, 75, 75, 75, 75, and that's how much damage Primal Aegis is going to save you from. Obviously, the higher in the game you are, maybe the less important this becomes, because damage there is massive, massive, massive. But when you're just a beginner, when you're just learning the game, when you're just building a game that's going to help you enter the end game, it's going to become really, really powerful and really strong for you. Now, finally, what I haven't covered is the lower part of this build, of this tree, but I kind of started with this life masteries, where I'm going with this to beef up my witch a little bit and take Shaper, which increases my mana regeneration rate further and lets me even regenerate life per second, which is fantastic, on the way. That's my intent for the build as far as the key kind of elements of the passive skill tree are concerned. Now on to the items. Of course, I'm not playing the league just yet, which is why all of these are placeholders. Hence, why you might be wondering why are these numbers so low? Because nothing is optimized. Nothing is optimized. This is just a vector, just an idea of how I'm planning to build my Arc Witch, and I'm inviting you to try this as well and follow me along for further updates if you want to. But what we're going to do here is, for skills, I'm planning to have obviously the main cluster of bunch of skills is going to be Arc. Arc is going to be our main damage dealing spell. It's a lightning spell where lightning, it chains up to 8 times, it shocks enemies, it does more damage for each remaining chain, and it increases the effect of lightning elements thanks to my support gems. I'm going to add lightning damage, awakened or not awakened, depending. I'm going to absolutely go for Spell Echo to have a more of a machine gun effect. With fast casting, it's gonna also do the double shots. It's gonna be fantastic. Faster casting, inspiration to save on mana a little bit and get inspiration charges, and probably elemental proliferation. I'm gonna play with this a little bit, but going to see how I go. For golems, I think I'm going to be running around with flame golems mostly because they give most damage, and my tactic is kill them before they kill you, as I already mentioned to you. Fast attack support, Arcane Surge is always helpful, and maybe I'm gonna run with 2 flame golems, 1 lightning golem, to increase minion maximum life and have increased attack and cast speed. We will see how we go. Cast when damage taken support, I always run every build with cast when damage taken support in the most simplistic configuration. This gem, this skill gets triggered whenever you take damage. Yeah, you keep it at level 1. You right click on the gem to not let it level, and you keep it at level 1 so that the amount of damage that you need to take is kept at the absolute minimum. Once that damage is taken, it triggers the Immortal Call. Immortal Call briefly reduces all damage that you take up to like 30-35 if you play long enough to level this gem up to level 20. You can start with about 25% reduction. 25% reduction is still massive, so it's very, very good. Increased duration simply helps for Immortal Call effect to last a tiny bit longer on you and for you to feel more protected. That's about it. Flame Dash is usually my travel skill of choice, my traversing skill of choice. Flame Dash is fantastic, and Second Wind allows Flame Dash to have an extra charge. Instead of 3 charges, it will have 4 charges, so it's great. If I have enough mana, and I probably will with the massive regeneration and everything, I am going to run with Wrath Aura. Wrath Aura is adding additional lightning damage to attacks, which is going to be great. And this is what I'm planning to do for the Arc Witch, my friends. Arc Witch is not dead, and we're going to have a lot of fun in 3.16. There are other builds that I'm planning to do, summoner builds, certainly not just witch builds. So if you are new here and you were still on the fence whether to subscribe or not, if this sounds like your cup of tea, now is the time for you to tell me that you're interested by clicking that like button, because that's the only way for you to tell me, Gyro, prioritize this content for me, mate, and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks very much for tuning in today, and I'll talk to you very soon as the league launches. See you later. Bye for now.